Happy Australia Day, everyone. So today is Australia Day, which means it's our national day to celebrate what it means to be an Australian. And yeah, what we're going to be doing today is we're going to check out some of the coolest monuments in Sydney and statues and monuments. So right now we're here at the ANZAC Memorial and there it is. So yeah, so Australia Day, celebrate Australia Day and check out some of the things that make us Australian, essentially, or myself.
Things that make me Australian.
Not you, sorry, Miss German.
Flag today.
you can be an Australian for the day, an honorary Australian.
Thank you.
But ANZAC Memorial, right? So it was built after the First World War, and I really like this memorial. It's right in the centre of Hyde Park, so really central in the Sydney city. But we can see like the soldiers, and I think some of the cool things I really like about this area is like when I'm on my lunch break I can come here and just have my lunch and, you know, relax and sit around the nature and watch the birds peck in the water. But over here, it says that a citizen set this stone in 1932 after the First World War, and a soldier set this stone over here after the First World War. So you can really imagine, basically 100 years ago today, someone built this and someone set that stone there. So if you're in the city, come check out the ANZAC Memorial. It's actually a museum down there, but yeah, join us as we show you some of the coolest statues and monuments around Sydney. So we're still in Hyde Park, and this I think is one of the most impressive statues in all of Sydney, and it's the statue of Captain Cook. And if you don't know who that is, it's pretty much the Australian Christopher Columbus, a famous sailor from the British Navy, and he was basically the one that discovered and made Australia into a settlement. So we have a really big statue of Captain Cook in celebration of his achievements, and yeah, he really came back to Australia 3 times on 3 return voyages, and he was a really talented sailor. He tried to find the Northwest Passage, and really well known in Australian history. And I think that this statue, it's still in Hyde Park, but it's a really cool spot, and it's kind of tucked off the main path. So if you don't know about it, come check it out. What do you reckon of Hyde Park?
I love Hyde Park. It's one of the best spots, like right in the city. So we love coming here most days, and it's just nice. And I like all the statues around too. Makes it look a bit more interesting than just a park. And it's just, what I love most about it is all the flowers. So we can show you some of them down there. Oh!
What?
Just noticed it's basil.
Oh yeah. I can actually smell basil in the air.
Why would it be basil?
Now the New South Wales Parliamentary Inquiry that will hand down their conclusions in March.
From Hyde Park we marched along, and now we're in the Bicentennial Gardens, and I want to show you something. So this is the fountain of Captain Arthur Phillips. So he was the first governor of New South Wales, and this is my favourite fountain in Sydney that I've found out so far. But pretty much the reason why I like it is it's in a great spot. See this chair over here? I usually bring my laptop and I'll do a few hours work sort of thing here and there, and just sitting there with my laptop. There's Wi-Fi in these gardens, can you believe it? So sitting there, working away, enjoying the fountain noise, like the ambience, and it's a great spot. And Neptune, so it's got the Roman gods. It's got 2 of it on it. It's got Neptune and can't quite. So it's got agriculture here, which would be Ceres, but it's agriculture instead. And patriotism is a big thing up on the statue. Very cool. And the evil codfish spitting out the water. I don't know if they're evil or anything, but I'll just say that. So if you're in the Bicentennial Gardens, come by and check it out. And this is my favourite fountain. Like, I don't think there's a cooler fountain in Sydney. Whew. Captain Arthur Phillips, first governor of New South Wales, 1788 to 1792. So what do you reckon of the fountain, Guido?
Once again, this is like one of the nicest fountains just because it's in such a nice spot. I think that's what I like most about it. And now it's really the perfect day to come here because there's no one here. Like, this is the spot where all the business people come from, all the big buildings over there.
And myself, yep.
And John. And then you just come here, you can just look that way and you can pretend the city is not even here. So it's just very pretty. But I like to correct you on, it's called the Royal Botanic Garden.
I know that, but I always just accidentally, you know? Come. This way. Let's check out some of the gardens. They're so beautiful. It's really hot today. Whew. We made it around Circular Quay, and this is my next favourite statue I wanted to show you. So the statue of William Bligh, and I find this a really interesting story behind this statue. That's what I really like about it, because he was the captain of the Bounty, and the Bounty had a mutiny. Essentially, halfway along their voyage, they went from all Britain, all around, you know, to Tahiti to get the breadfruit plants, and the crew decided that they liked Tahiti so much that they don't want to go back, and so there was a mutiny on board, and they kicked the captain off and some of his followers, put him onto a little life raft, and he had to sail all the way back to Britain. And then once he finally made it back to Britain, they sent him back on another trip to come back and get revenge on the mutineers. So cool story behind this statue. William Bligh, legendary sailor. Cool story?
Cool story. I actually didn't know too much about breadfruit. I read about it the other day. Like,
plants, yeah. So
weird.
if you're around the rocks, that's a statue of a cool bit of history. And just behind it, my favourite sandstone house around here. So it's heritage listed. So there's so much history around here, isn't there?
I discovered that recently.
So we're by the harbour now, and maybe you can guess what I'm going to say, but the last thing I wanted to show you, and I think is really cool about Sydney and Circular Quay and Darling Harbour and all of the bays around here, is the Opera House on the peninsula. So it's such a weird and unique design, and when they first built it, it was such a foreign design. It was way ahead of its time, and people didn't really like it. They thought it was too new, too modern, too like alien. They're not used to it. So I think it's like an iconic Australian landmark. Everyone knows what the Opera House is.
Right.
And there it is.
It just needs to be weird, otherwise it doesn't stand out.
Well, opera is like a very sort of musical thing, and then they say like about harmonics and this and that, but that's a cool building.
Yeah.
Another important thing I really like about the Opera House is when you think of cities around the world, such as Paris, thought of the Eiffel Tower, Rome, Colosseum. But when you think of Sydney, the real monument is the Opera House. That's the monument of the city, and I guess the bridge, but the Opera House is just such an iconic feature of Sydney that if you imagine a Sydney postcard, it's probably got the Opera House and the bridge on it. And I think it's that sort of like big point of Sydney that I really like, that Sydney, the city with the Opera House. So it sets us apart, and that's what I quite like about the Opera House. That's what's important to me. So that's pretty much the icons and monuments that I like around Sydney and my little favourite spots. So if you enjoyed, subscribe, and yeah, stay tuned for the next one. And I think as well, this isn't my conclusive list, so maybe I'll do this again in the future, my favourite spots. So stay tuned.